hopefully, there we go. We should be live-ish.
We're live.
Nice. On time too. Look at this.
I know. Well, we're 1 minute behind. We have to stay with
Come on. That
brand.
That's like multiverse premium though. Like it's not like the 20 minutes I'm late on my own podcast.
Link has been set.
Perfect.
This for you guys. It's about ugly bug. Because I have nothing to hide, cowards.
Oh boy. Is this gonna be one of those episodes?
Maybe. I've intentionally not included on any of the topic lists because I'm just like, great.
I had 6 people this week go, I bet you hide your gamer score. I'm like, here's my Xbox profile.
Do I look like crap gamer? Damn.
Like, want my Xbox? Sure, here you go. You want my Steam? You're not going to find a lot, but here. You want my Switch code? Sure, see what my daughter plays.
Well, my whole thing about gamer tag is like, what's the worst thing they can do with your gamer tag? Oh, you don't play a game. Okay. I don't normally talk about games I'm not interested in. If I do talk about a game I'm not interested in, you can dismiss my opinion because my opinion doesn't matter to you, and that's fine. Like I think that's ultimately really what I want to know. I just want to know what's your credibility on the situation. I don't really care if you played it or not. Unless it's something really serious. All right, here's an example. This is an example someone else brought up. So, oh well, I said I was excited for Elden Ring, and it's all right, cool. It's like, but they asked me that I played Bloodborne. And I said yeah. So okay, and it's then I said yes, and then they asked me if I played Dark Souls 3, and I was like, they're just hounding me for information. Oh no. And it's maybe they just want to know what's your history with the franchise. Did you just play one and done, or are you really deep into it? Okay, here's the thing. So Nick, if I told you, I was like, hey Nick, I heard you like Fallout. Is that right? Do you like the Fallout franchise?
Yeah.
All right. So if you go around telling me some shit about oh well, Fallout New Vegas is god awful, piece of shit, worst game of the series, I'm gonna be like, did you play it? And you say, yeah, I played it and I hated it. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, did you play the other ones? This is your first Fallout game? I want to know details. Okay, where are you coming at? It's not malicious. I just want to know. I want to know, how did you get to this opinion?
Yeah,
unfortunately, a lot of people lie about stuff.
Well, a perfect example. You and me went through this with Fallout 76. Don't you remember all the people that were like, as a longtime Fallout fan, I can't believe how disappointed I am in Bethesda. And it's like, you have one achievement in Fallout 4. Why don't you sit down? Just let the big boys talk about their disappointment in Fallout.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where it's all right, look, I just... It's not always a malicious thing. Someone just want to know what's your gaming history, what got you to this point. That's what most of us want to know. And even then, I can't recall the last time I asked somebody for their gamer score. I can't recall the last time I actually asked somebody or anything like that. Not games for their gamer tag. I don't recall the last time I even asked anybody for it because I don't normally talk to people who are questionable. I don't even talk to them. No point in talking to them. But okay, I had a conversation with a guy. What was it? We were talking about Psychonauts 2, which, by the way, rather doing this now, I'm actually playing the game.
Yeah.
Trying to finish it. Trying to 100% this baby. I'm really, it's all over the place, and I love it. But we were talking about it, and what was it? He was like, "Oh, see, there's see, Psychonauts 2 was overrated." I was like, "Did you play it?" No. I was like, "So you saying it's overrated doesn't really mean anything." I just stopped talking to him after that. There's no reason to talk to somebody like that. That's kind of the whole issue I have. Is it's you don't have to talk to people who are stupid.
Yeah, that's why I don't understand about social media in general. It's not like work where you have to spend 40 hours a week with stupid people. It's oh, this person's annoying. Block.
Yeah. Just move on.
And I actually, honestly, I don't even block that many people unless they're just downright hostile. I mute people typically, and if they then decide to mosey into the inbox and try to, big tough guy it in the DMs, I'll either put them on blast publicly or I'll just block them and move on. I don't know. I don't understand surrounding yourself with people you don't enjoy.
Like, same boat, man. Like, I just don't understand it. So, but yeah, also people want to be big and they want to like talk bad shit about you and like, oh, I'm gonna argue to your face, but I'm too afraid to show you my gamer tag. It's like, okay, you want to insult me personally? Go right ahead. I don't care. But your opinion is also irrelevant. So what's the point?
Most of these people wouldn't survive Reddit in the late 2000s.
Oh, probably.
Like, what can you do?
Yeah, it's dumb. Anyway, what you been playing, man? What you been up to? It's been 2 weeks. We gotta catch up.
Age of Empires 4. Playing a metric ton of that. I'm gonna be doing a review on that. That's literally all I've been playing, honestly. I haven't had a lot of time to game this week, but Age of Empires 4 is weird because I appreciate it. Like, I love RTS games generally, but I love the historic angle of Age of Empires 4 and how they set up each campaign mission where they like fly over where the battle was and then they show you like how it was laid out and they give you all the historical political background of what led to this battle and then they let you play that battle. That's really cool. Like prefacing it with actual historical stuff and setting it up the way they do. It's really awesome. It's like subtle, like 45 seconds before you start campaign, basically during loading, and you get to learn some history stuff and play some really good RTS stuff. It's great. What about you? What have you been playing?
Too. I've been kind of all over the board. I'm trying to like finish up a bunch of stuff right now. So like I'm doing, like I mentioned before, I'm playing Psychonauts 2. I'm trying to 100% this thing. I'm literally on Bob's Bottles, like it's the last level. Just trying to like grab all the rest of the figments, and I keep finding some of the weirdest places, and I love it. I played Halo 3 for the first time, at least the campaign. For whatever reason, 3 is the one I didn't get to play. I've played 1, 2, Reach, 4, 5. I've played everything but 3 in ODST. So I'm like, it's been one of those things I've just been waiting for it. I finally got there, so I'm ready. And I'm actually replaying 5 right now, so it's been fun. What else is there? But yeah. Oh, so wait, when I ask you like, how long do you remember that fight between Locke and Chief being? When you think about it, how long do you remember that fight?
I never finished Halo 5.
You ever finished Halo 5?
No, I played it for like 3 hours and went, no. Like, when I tell people I bounced off Halo 5, I bounced off Halo 5.
Well, the thing about Halo 5, what I've realized, is that there is a lot of good content in 5. I say that more in terms of, like, the mission structures are good. They're varied. Nothing is better than that first mission when you're running down the mountain and you're like, yeah, this like slaughtering Covenant left and right. Like that just feels so satisfying. Like it really doesn't get any better than that. But it's one of those things where I'm kind of like, all right, let's see where we go from here. And like nothing like ever like geeks that moment. But nothing ever gets. Nothing's terrible. There's no terrible mission. It tries stuff that's new, and that's about it. But like, there's no bad mission out of it. I can say that for certain. So, but yeah, I've enjoyed it. Playing with the gang. So, but yeah.
Right on, man. Shall we kick it off officially?
Oh, I'm ready to get started. Let's go and get started.
All right, let me just get this adjusted out.
Okay, let me tweet out the link. Oh, did you get my thumbnail on it?
Not on it. No, it wouldn't let me add it prior to stream. I have to do that after. As far as I know.
Yeah, once you schedule it, you could put the thumbnail beforehand.
Okay. Well, next week I'll schedule it. I'm still. I keep sitting there going, I'm going to spend more time learning how to do this YouTube stuff, and then I do 90 million other things through the week, and then Thursdays come around, and I'm like, crap. All right. Let me just get all this COVID out of my throat.
Yeah, I've been sick lately. My throat has been sore, but I'm doing better.
My daughter is in this endless cycle of head colds where she'll have a head cold and she'll be sick for 5 days, and then she'll get better for a couple of days, and then she'll re-catch it again, and then...
Oh, boy.
It's brutal.
That's not good.
But let's get this show on the road. Kick it off officially for the MP3 folks. All right. 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. I'm Pitbull. No. Hello and welcome to Cheat Code Radio, episode number 14. I am your host, Nicholas Downey, and I am joined once again by the man of space, the intrepid instigator of social media, Mr. Ivan Seiler.
Hey guys, it's Ivan here, aka Anchorman V2. You guys can find me on Twitter at AnchorV2 or my gamer tags at Anchorman V2 on Xbox and PlayStation. So I'm not afraid to show my information because it doesn't mean anything. So
everyone go look up his PSN and laugh at his trophy score.
Oh, please do. I do not care. Like, I don't normally talk about games I don't care about unless I'm telling you I don't care about it. That's about it. So
touche, sir. Touche.
Yeah.
So let's get kicked off. What's our poll results from the previous episode?
All right, time for poll results. Let's see what we got in here for this time. So, our question from last time. This right one? Yeah, I got that one. Okay. With Sony bringing God of War to PC, how long do you think it will take for PlayStation games to launch day and date on PC? With 15% of the vote, tomorrow. They'll launch tomorrow. With 38% of the vote, never. PC leftovers only. And number one, by the end of the generation. So, number one's a 46%. So, not like a commanding lead, but it's a significant one, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, revisiting that, like, Nick, what do you think about that? It was about 2 weeks ago since we talked about it last. But when do you think that PlayStation games will launch on PC day and date?
I think it's going to rely heavily on what their sales data shows on all these games heading to PC. If these sell millions upon millions of copies, they will reevaluate when they come to console or when they come to PC. I feel like they're going to just slowly but surely edge people to it until it feels natural. So it's like, I think they're going to start with like maybe a year and a bit maybe, and then they'll whittle it down to 6 months, and then eventually it'll be day and date, and it'll feel very natural, and people will be like, what's the big deal?
Yeah. Well, so I saw like the reason I asked specifically is I saw like a link that someone had posted and supposedly corroborated. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention that much. But supposedly they corroborated this, and it was like, oh, this is like a definitive list. But like it looks like pretty much every PlayStation 5 game that got announced so far that has already come out will be hitting PC by the end of the year next year. So some of them, like I think they're looking at Horizon Forbidden West hitting PC within the same year. But all the ones from this year are going to hit next year. So like Ratchet and Clank would supposedly hit PC by next year.
See, I kind of think that will happen. I think the Horizon one's interesting. So this is based off of GeForce leak data. People have to be pretty sick with NVIDIA at this point because even Xbox is getting some of their placeholder stuff leaked at this point. I believe that, for example, the Horizon Forbidden West one, I believe that is a date hold, like a placeholder, because I believe that Horizon Forbidden West originally was supposed to launch in September, because I believe the placeholder in the GeForce leak is like September. Yeah, like September of next year. So it being a year after what they wanted to launch the game on makes sense. But with that being said, I don't think that these dates are realistic, but these games are realistic. Like, let's be real. Like, I would not at all be surprised if Returnal hits PC a year after it released on PlayStation. Not at all. Because, like,
I would not be surprised.
Because, like, honestly, like, you look at a game like Returnal, it sold on PS5, it sold 600,000 plus copies, which is really good attach rate for a Housemarque game on a brand new next generation console. But if you could get another 500,000 copies from PC or even 400,000, so you're basically doubling your money, why wouldn't you? It makes sense to me. Like, they're not devaluing the console by releasing these games later. Like, the whole argument of devaluing the console in general is stupid, but because if you think PC gaming is so easy and so accessible and we need exclusives to justify it, go try buy a graphics card right now.
Point. That's a very good point. But yeah, I know for me, I'm just kind of like, well, it was only a matter of time. Like, this really should not have been a surprise to anybody, but here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Well, behold, I'm just waiting for the moment I could show our good friend Tony Polanco. I'd be like, hey, remember when I told you it was gonna be day and date? I'm just waiting for that moment. That's all I'm waiting for.
That moment will come.
So. Oh, I know it will come. I know it will come. So, anyway, let's start getting into some of these topics, man. We got a couple things to cover. It's
Absolutely.
gonna be fun. All right. So first question we have this evening. Excuse me. This comes from our good friend Mr. Inferno. Sega and Microsoft are making a public partnership. Do you think they're positioning for a buyout? I could go ahead and start on this one. I don't think they're positioning for a buyout, but I think you can guarantee no more free exclusive games on PlayStation specifically. No more free exclusives. If you see anything come out, it's because someone bought it. And that's it. So that's my thought. So what about you, Nick? What do you got?
I think, and I know Inferno's been on this one for a hot minute, but I think people need to give up on the Sega acquisition, because the thing is Microsoft Xbox can get what they need from Sega in a partnership versus a buyout. Buyouts need to make sense, and I think Microsoft's being smart with it, kind of testing the waters, doing a lot. Microsoft's doing a lot of partnerships, like we know about the IO Interactive partnership for a new game. You got Avalanche doing Contraband. You've got the I can't remember the code name for it, but the one from the Banner Saga developers. You've got Bevry.
Brigade? Belfry.
Belfry.
That's what it is.
Belfry. You got Project Belfry. You've got the Wu-Tang action game, which sounds so amazing.
That's just like, okay, let's talk about that for a second. Is that doesn't even sound real to me. Like, that's like, what?
No, this is 100% real, and I'm so ready for it. 100%. Like, beating the tar out of dudes to Wu-Tang tracks, I'm in.
I'm not denying it'd be cool, but I'm like, Is that real? Like, it still doesn't sound like a real concept to me. It just doesn't sound like it. Like, okay, fine. So anyway, that's kind of my whole thing. But yeah,
But yeah,
back to the topic though.
yeah, but like Microsoft's doing a lot of partnerships with studios where it makes sense, and I think Sega is a place where a partnership makes a lot of sense, and I think a lot of people are they're getting to the right destination in terms of how Sega and Microsoft are working hand in hand on a lot of things. Like for example, we saw the Total War game that's coming to Xbox Game Pass. That was announced by Sega today. Yakuza Like a Dragon being an Xbox Series launch title. All the Yakuza games coming day and date to Game Pass. Like a Dragon a few months after. People are drawing the wrong conclusion because everyone's looking at this Microsoft Azure deal with Sega as, oh, Microsoft's finally partnering with Sega. I think they've quietly been working deals with Sega behind the scenes, and I think this Azure deal just adds more value to that partnership. And could Xbox see benefits from that? Absolutely. But I think Xbox has already been on the ground floor trying to work some benefits for themselves with Sega, as we've seen with more of the Japanese, centric releases from Sega finally making their way to Xbox. And I think that's also part of Sega's overall global strategy. Like in that partnership announcement, press release, they spoke of, Sega wanting to appeal to a worldwide audience. And I think, with the release of the sequel to Judgment, which was one of the first games from that studio, from that franchise, nonetheless, that released worldwide on the same date. Typically, those games released in Japan first and came to the West anywhere from 6 months to a year later. Those coming day and date to all platforms is kind of a big deal, and I think that's kind of Sega's future. I think they're realizing that they were leaving money on the table for no real reason. So I think in the future, I think Xbox is going to get a lot of benefits. Like I think a lot more games from Sega and like what Sega publishes will come to Xbox, but I don't think people need to construe that with the Azure deal. I think it's two separate deals going on behind the scene, but people are going to just mix it all into one. I just think Sega and Microsoft are on really good terms again. And I think if you're an Xbox gamer, that's something to be excited about.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a very good point. That's why I hang out with you, for these good points. But yeah, I think I don't think people should read too much into it, but like I said, I think if you're looking at it, I would just say, in all likelihood, no more free exclusives anymore. So,
I think the thing that'll be the crowner, or the crown to the achievement of if Xbox is actually making moves behind the scenes with Sega, is what Persona 6 looks like. What the release of Persona 6 looks like. Are they, that is a game that predominantly releases in Japan first, doesn't usually get to West till later, definitely is a PlayStation dominant title, obviously. Will that come to PC? Will it come to Xbox as part of this initiative? Or is Sega going to make PlayStation pony up the money to keep Persona on the PlayStation platform? I just think it'll be interesting to see.
It'll be an extortion move. It'll be like, hey, we found a good relationship here. Do you want to keep this going, or are we done?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. Next little bit here. So, next question. This one comes from Sly Cooper's brother. Did you think last week's State of Play was worth it? To recap, in case you just already forgot, PlayStation had a State of Play. And, it's mostly like indie titles and third-party stuff. Nothing new. But my understanding is that this is like the last State of Play for the year, unless I guess they do maybe an event well, not an event, but like show up to what's it called?
Game Awards.
Game Awards. Yeah, I mean they can show up there, but that's kind of it. There's not a lot else going on. So, what do you think, man? I'm curious about this one.
I think there was some cool stuff shown off, but I also think it says a lot when you put this on the topics, and I forgot that there was one. I believe Little Devil Inside looks really interesting. Or Devil Inside. I'm not remembering the name correctly. That one looks really interesting. I think PlayStation's sitting on a lot of heavy hitters that are going to be coming next year. And I know they're playing the careful card of, when they're going to release this and when they're going to talk about release dates, because they don't want to set a release date and then not make that release date. I understand that struggle, especially in, a world where the pandemic is still heavily influencing in certain areas. Like Europe, the pandemic is still very, very bad. North America, we're slightly doing better. So I think it's really hard for these companies to predict when their games are going to release, and PlayStation's to the point with a lot of their games where they're just waiting on release dates. You know what I mean? They don't need to talk about them more. They just need dates. And I think that's put them in...
The thing is, Sony's lineup is largely sequels, so it's not like a lot of these are surprises or anything.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, just the surprise is which one comes out first, really.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay... And so, dates would be very helpful.
Well, when you look at it, too, it's like, what we've seen of God of War Ragnarok. That looks like it's going to be an amazing God of War game. But we kind of know what to see and expect. The only cool thing they can really do is show us more of the story. But on the flip side of that, I don't really want to know more of the story until the game's in my hands. And I think that's a really hard balance that a lot of publishers have to, try to figure out, is how much is too much, right? Like, if you don't talk about a game, people forget about it, or people are constantly asking, where's this game? Where's this game? Where's this game? But also, if you show too much, people are like, oh man, it's like Spider-Man for PlayStation 4. Phenomenal game, but they ruined a major plot twist in that game in a trailer. You have to be careful with what you show. And I think PlayStation's just in that part where they're being careful with what they show, and thus making the state of play feel forgettable. And that's not to say there isn't good games there, but the unfortunate thing is for PlayStation has knocked it out of the park for so long. The expectations are painstakingly high for them every time they decide to show up. So when they do one of these state of plays and they're like, we're showcasing stuff from our third-party partners, people are like, oh, we're going to see Final Fantasy 16 because they're third-party partners with Square Enix, so obviously Final Fantasy 16 is going to be there. And it wasn't. But they did showcase third-party partners that weren't necessarily their biggest ones, and I think that's the problem, is that people are looking for specific things, and when those things don't arrive the way they want to, people get upset about it, or it's forgettable, or wherever the case may be. I just think that's where they're at. They're kind of where Xbox was in 2018. Like, you remember those inside Xboxes where it'd be like, why are we spending so much time on this one game that no one really cares about right now?
Point. It's a real good point. It's like they would spend like 15 minutes on it. It's like, we got other stuff. But I understand you don't have much to show, so I get it. But I wish you'd show something else, please. But yeah, I get it. I understand the thought process. I think it kind of wraps that part up. I can't think of this. We're talking about that. So, other way. So, next question. This person didn't put their name on it, so I guess we'll take it. So, Kotaku, while right, it looks like Rockstar really did remaster GTA Trilogy. Did you see the not the setup, but did you see the actual amount? What amounts? the actual work that they did specifically, Nick? Like,
Yeah,
did you notice it?
I am full ready to put my foot in my mouth. I'm actually kind of impressed. It's kind of clear though that a lot more work went into San Andreas, and then they did a little bit of work on Vice City, and then they kind of forgot that 3 existed. But it looks good. Like, I went from there's no way I would ever buy this to if Skyrim the remaster of Skyrim wasn't coming out the same day, I might pick these up.
Well, I don't. Was it San Andreas is coming to Game Pass launching?
Yep.
And then is it like one of the other ones coming like PlayStation Plus or something?
GTA 3 goes to PlayStation Now in December.
Okay. All right, fair enough. So they're making sure not to give you everything. So
Well,
it's like, okay.
well, it's funny because I sat there and like when that whole collection was announced, I was like, I'm good not playing San Andreas again. San Andreas was a great game, but I don't need to play it again. Grand Theft Auto 3, I really don't have any attachment to, so I was kind of like, whatever. And it was Vice City where I was like, oh, I really want to play that one. And they're like, oh, PlayStation Now gets Grand Theft Auto 3. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then they're like, oh, and Xbox Game Pass gets Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. I'm like, all right. And then they're like, and Vice City's staying in the collection. I'm like, dicks. It's the one I wanted to play.
I have not played any of the old GTAs, honestly. So I'm kind of interested in going back because I've only liked one GTA, and that was 5. I didn't really like it like that. I just like, oh, this is enjoyable. I see when people like it. So
you're only GTA. Wait, did you play 4?
Yeah, I played 4. I hated it.
Cousin, how do you hate bowling?
Actually, I like the bowling. That's the weird part. I like Nico, cousin. That's like my favorite part of the whole thing.
That was the entire game.
I have a friend on Xbox whose gamer tag is Nico. That's every time he shows up. I always do that to him. That's all I do.
But yeah, like, okay, so let me preface this to you then. As someone who hasn't played these games, are you interested in dropping $60 for the collection, or are you just going to try to play one on Game Pass?
I'm going to put one on Game Pass and see how I feel about it first. Because, like, I don't know. This looks like the same level of effort they put into, like, you know, Bioshock. When they remastered Bioshock 1 and 2, where it's like, we're not trying to, like, reinvent the wheel here. We're not trying to, like, all right, this is like a really big AAA budget game. It's more like, hey, we're kind of future-proofing this. Like, this is what our original what we originally wanted to look like, and here we go. Like, if that's the impression I get from it, where it's like, if you look at like a lot of the character designs, they still look kind of blocky, but they just have detail.
Yeah,
and it's like, huh, interesting. So I'm invested enough to that point, I guess. But yeah, I'm just kind of waiting to see a little bit. So yeah. So I mean, if I like the first one, I'll go from there. Well, yeah, that's first one. I mean, yeah.
See, I'm kind of weird. I wish they'd do the top-down ones. I started playing GTA with the original, and the top-down ones were actually a lot of fun. They're really, really unique for their time period. I know a lot of people wouldn't care about them now, but they'd be cool to, you know, check out again. Shout out to Mr. 2 Opinionated in the chat, which I know is Inferno because the man has too many opinions. How do you guys feel about this month's Game Pass lineup?
It looks pretty stacked, man. Looks pretty stacked. Like I'm like, all right, hey, I'm interested. Like, I mean, not like outside of, you know, like Forza Horizon, like nothing in there is like, oh my god, like another AAA blockbuster banger, like nothing like that. But I'm like, it looks good, solid games I'll play.
So like you and me are playing It Takes Two, right?
Oh, obviously.
Sweet.
That's how we get our podcast chemistry.
Awesome. Nothing says podcast chemistry like a story about divorce.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think Game Pass has some good ones in there. I think there's some few hidden gems in there too. Like, I definitely implore people to check out Forgotten City. It's on my list. It was a Skyrim mod that's become a full-fledged game. And it's about time looping, which I know after 12 minutes in Deathloop, you might be tired of time looping. But I've heard some really, really positive things about that. So that might be worth checking out. It Takes Two, Forza Horizon 5. I almost caved today and bought the early access pass for Forza Horizon 5. I almost did.
You know what's a really easy way to how to like avoid that problem?
What?
Being employed.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I really sat there and I was like, man, I really want to get this, but I'm like, I have to go to work. And so like, am I willing to take off work for 2 days to play this? And it's like I can wait the rest of the weekend. I'm okay.
Yeah, I've shamelessly saved a bunch of PTO for Halo Infinite. I am so ready for that game. But yeah, no, I sat there. I was like, oh, it's only $45. That'd be really dope.
It's tempting. It's tempting.
It's mad tempting. But then I realized I'm wrapping up Age of Empires for review. I've got other things on the go. I'm like, I'll be lucky if I get to play this, nonetheless play this early. Yeah. So it's like, I can wait.
Yeah. We'll talk about Horizon a little bit later. That's our main topic for the evening. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, like it's just it's a hard choice to make.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right. Next question. People are saying Guardians of the Galaxy is pretty damn great. How about it, Ivan? Still waiting for Game Pass? Smirk from Krogan. I'm not waiting for Game Pass for this. I'm not waiting. I am waiting, but like I want to get clear. Like I'm not waiting with the intention of it'll come to Game Pass eventually. Just because I said that about Avengers doesn't mean I'm waiting for every title to do that. But I would say like it looks like a great game. It looks like fun. Like it's kind of one of those things where it's like you can definitely tell where Square had their hands off, or where they just let them like make a game. So I'm definitely of the impression that it's like, look, I'm gonna play it eventually, but as Nick and I both know, around Black Friday time, certain games go on sale deep.
Yep.
So I'm like, I'll just wait, and I got plenty of games to play right now. So like, Guardians of the Galaxy probably $40 by the end of the year. So.
Man,
I'll wait for some patches.
It's so crazy because I remember when that game was revealed at E3, everyone was like, this looks so mid. This is going to be so average. And that was like a day before release, and like embargo went up, and people were like, oh, reviewers are a really good game. And people are like, oh, it's still going to be bad. Like, there's no way this game's actually good. And now everybody on my timeline won't shut up about it.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, this is the sleeper game of the year. I'm like, okay, there's nothing sleeper hit about a Marvel game, okay? There's absolutely nothing.
Yeah. And well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a sleeper. I think it's more of a surprise given the reception lately.
Well, I think the problem is that I think this is what Marvel's Avengers did to people. People are like, oh God, here we go again.
To quote that guy from GTA in the meme with the game I haven't played, oh shit, here we go again. I got told apparently that's toward the beginning of the game, which was really funny because I just said like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play that game just so I can see the meme. It's like that's like the very beginning. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's like the first 2 minutes of the game, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's more of a surprise. I'm like, good for them. Let's see how it pays off.
Yeah. Like I love Eidos Montreal. Like they do phenomenal games. So I'm really happy that they did a really good one. I just wish they were still making Deus Ex games. That's all.
Yeah. All right. Plowing through some of these topics tonight. Let's get going. All right, this one. Halo Infinite campaign gameplay looks pretty good. This comes from 117 Johnsons.
That's a lot of Johnsons.
Or 117 Johnsons.
That is
So,
that is a lot of Johnsons.
mhm.
Yeah, so after a year, Craig went to the gym, pumped some iron, got some hair transplanted from his fanny to his head, and my man be looking kind of swole. And I think that's the general message of that campaign overview trailer. Like, I still don't think, like, I think it's important to be like, this isn't the most amazing looking game that's ever been made. This is not like the graphical standard for Xbox Series X, or, this is even, there's still things that are like, oh, okay, this is okay. But I feel like this is leaps and bounds better than what they would have shipped this last year. Like, you can see the progress that they have made, and I'm really happy with the amount of progress that's been made. And I'm kind of what makes me really happy is they didn't try to do this stupid. They didn't have a bunch of influencers come up and try to talk about how important Halo is and blah blah blah. They didn't have a bunch of. They did a straightforward. This is what you want to see. This is what we're going to give to you.
I got kind of like mixed impressions from it personally, at least from what they showed. Like they positioned confidence, like you said before. They didn't do the cringy stuff where it's like, oh yeah, look, everyone's excited for Halo and like try to play that card with us.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do that, which I appreciated. But at the same time, I got the impression it was like, hey, we're showing this to you because we don't want to get you guys off our back. Like, I didn't get the impression it was like, oh, right, we really want to show this to you guys. It was more like the game's coming out in like a month. Yeah, we gotta show you something.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, I'm contractually obligated to be here, kind of thing.
Right.
That's the impression I got from it, at least. Now, that may not be the case, but that's the feeling I got. But I'm always the skeptic amongst the group, so I'm not particularly surprised.
Yeah.
So.
No, I wish I could say this without it sounding like a bad thing. It looks like a good Halo game.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm excited for it. Like, I play the multiplayer. I'm ready for this game. Like, even if the campaign sucks, I'm in. Like,
yeah. Well, I think that's kind of the saving grace for Halo is like, I think that was the saving grace for 5, in all honesty, is like, yeah, the single player kind of sucked, but they did some really great things with the multiplayer that kind of kept people involved. And for those that bounced off Halo 5, they did a lot of great things with the Master Chief Collection, multiplayer-wise, to keep people kind of going there. But I think it's time to bring those two bases together and make a super base of...
Super Halo.
Super Halo. Yeah, I think it's just time that they deliver on both fronts. And I have a lot more... Like, I'm not going to say it's a slam dunk, but I feel like it's at least a 2-point shot from outside that they can get this in at this point, and that this is good.
Point. Yeah. So yeah, well, we're almost there. We got a month to go. We're on the home stretch here. So.
Yep.
All right. Has the time of prophecy occurred? Tell me, Nicholas. Will the elusive Sam Fisher see a return? From Fishing for Fisher. Or Fishing for Fear, sorry.
Fisher for Fisher.
Fishing for Fear, sorry.
I was like, fishing for Fisher. Does that mean, like, I just have pictures of Sam Fisher trying to fish himself out of an ocean?
He might be just doing that just now.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Like many people, when I first saw this report, I got really excited. Because I was like, oh my god, it's actually happening. Ubisoft is making a Splinter Cell game. And then I remembered, oh no, Ubisoft is making a Splinter Cell game. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, if you had told me 5 years ago that Ubisoft was making another Splinter Cell game, I would have just jumped up and been like, slow-mo frame, fist bump in the sky, excited. I'm kind of nervous what a Splinter Cell game from Ubisoft is going to look like right now, because they've literally molded every franchise that they have, with the exception of like Anno, into the same mold. And I've gotten into arguments with people over the past few weeks about this. You cannot sit there and tell me they don't mold every game to being similar, because that Avatar game literally looks like Far Cry with blue people. They have a mold for everything, and I'm absolutely terrified that they're going to Ghost Recon Breakpoint Sam Fisher.
Yeah, they probably will, dude. In all honesty, they probably will. Which is sad.
Like,
that's really sad to think about.
Like, I think the thing that makes me so sad is, like, as someone who grew up on stealth games, right, where the proprietary means of going through each level was stealth, like you talk like Splinter Cell, the original Hitman games, Metal Gear Solid, these games rewarded you and expected you to play with stealth. But Ubisoft was a big component of casualizing stealth gameplay. And at the time, I thought it was really cool because they worked so many different things into their games, including stealth. Like, I remember thinking Assassin's Creed was so awesome because you had, like, the stealth assassinations, but you could also draw your sword and, like, fight a ton of people, too. Like, it gave you this variety. So stealth became more of a side mechanic. But as a side effect of that, we don't have pure stealth games anymore, or very rarely do we have pure stealth games. I think there's exceptions. Dishonored's a very tried and true stealth game and like that, but like pure stealth games just don't exist anymore. And while Splinter Cell had the shooting and everything else, it heavily rewards you for being stealthy. And I want a game like that, but I know I'm going to get this half-baked, oh, well, you can play stealthy, but it doesn't matter if you go in with an LMG and lay waste to everything. Because they're scared of pushing away the casualized audience that just wants to run and gun through everything.
I like Far Cry 3 specifically. I think this was the game that really popularized a lot of this stuff, this mentality with them. Mm-hmm. Where it was, they let you have the choice and the game was enjoyable either way, where you could be a super stealth ninja and feel accomplished for taking things out. And like that was a great option for people. And I think that was enjoyable for most. But at the same time, you could just be an idiot and just run and gun and do crazy stuff. Like, they made it so the game was enjoyable all the way through, no matter how you played it. Yeah. So I think that is worth noting specifically. But yeah, ever since then they've been trying to do that thing and capture the magic in there, and like they've done it sometimes. Like sometimes it's really good stuff, and sometimes it's not. Yeah. So, but they've tried doing that even with their own stealth franchises, which I think is the problem. Yeah. Where it's like, oh yeah, Assassin's Creed is no longer about assassinating people; it's about being a warrior. It's like, okay. Yeah. I mean, it's not wrong. Yeah. Assassin's Creed's the weirdest one, because I just feel like Ubisoft doesn't have the sack to just be like, here's a new RPG done by us. They have to slap the Assassin's Creed name on it to make it work. Like, I remember the trailer. You remember that trailer for Valhalla where he, like, jumps over a bunch of guys and it pulls out the, like, hidden blade and everyone's like, it's Assassins again. And I was just like, oh my God, somebody help me.
Like,
I mean, it was gonna happen, but still.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
I
Like,
know,
we're gonna shoehorn the blade in here.
like,
Okay.
I don't like the idea of Assassin's Creed games being 100-hour RPGs, but I understand a lot of people do love them like that. So I'm fine with that. But Ubisoft seems to be perpetually making games nobody asked for. And like, Eric made a joke on our show. He's like, oh, Ubisoft's going to bring Sam Fisher back. It's going to be some weird battle royale stealth game. And I'm absolutely terrified that he's right.
Oh, a stealth-based battle royale wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but I I just want people to do something different with battle royale anyway. Like, it's just so boring as a result.
Yeah,
Like, I'm just so tired of it.
I agree.
So I wish they'd just do something different, and that would be pretty sweet if they could. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah. Sorry. Random aside. I think I just found the last figment in this game, and therefore I will have completed almost everything in this title.
Nice.
All right. I have something to show for you guys once I do this. Hold up. Shit. Good. This is one of those things where you gotta jump in a very particular manner to get it. There it is. All right. 1 second. I got it right here. Yeah. 1 second. Thank you for dealing with me here. I have my Psychonauts Summer Camp official mug. Now I can drink in victory.
This man flexing Gamerscore on a podcast like it's a Twitter space. My God.
Nope. Not even about the Gamerscore for me. Not even about it. I'm just so glad it's finally over. It took a long time. Like, you finished this game yet? Have you finished Psychonauts 2 at all?
Dude, I haven't even installed it.
Dude!
This is payback.
One sec.
This is payback for all the Resident Evil slander for the past 3 years.
Oh, there's gonna be more of it if you don't play this game.
Oh my God.
Like, you're actually missing out on a great game.
I know. It's on my list when things start slowing down.
Yeah. Well, you know how like in like Psychonauts 1, they had like this what's the term? Like everything was fairly linear in terms of like once you go into people's minds and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole section that's literally just like an open literal world. And you have to actually go and find these figments, and this is such a pain in the ass to do. I can't stress to you how much of a pain in the ass this was. So no, like this took a long time to do. I'm so glad it's finally done. So, all right, back to topics. Sorry for this random aside. Anyway, what do you cheaters think about the Starfield story teaser from Rob01011? Did you see this thing at all?
Yeah, I did. I saw a little bit of it anyways. It floated across my
It's only
feed.
like a minute long.
Yeah. I'm interested. Like, Starfield's one of those things until they start showing like 5-10 minute segments. I'm good. Like, I know how expansive Bethesda's going to make this game. Like, I understand the scope they're going for with this game. I just want it. I want it so bad.
My only issue with it is that it felt really generic for a long time. And I was like, all right, well, where are you going to go with this? Like, what's going to be the feel for it? And like after a little bit of time, I'm like, all right, I can see where this is going.
Yeah,
I get more of a better picture of what they're shooting to do, and I feel so much better about it.
yeah, no, I agree with you because like when we first saw Starfield again, when Todd Howard came out during that Xbox Bethesda conference and everything else, and they talked about Starfield, I was kind of like the initial reveal trailer. I was like, I'm interested because of the team that's working on it, but like I'm not seeing what makes it unique. Like, what makes this different than Mass Effect? What makes this different than, I don't know, some other space RPG? What is the twist? And they're talking about the different colonies, the expansiveness of the world, and everything else. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to see it now. I don't want to be the guy, but I just don't see this hitting 2022.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, I think the fact that they went out there with their chest that gave an actual date, like that tells me they're confident. Like the points where I'm like, all right, I'm not sure about this one is if they were to come out here and say, oh, we're targeting 2022, and they just did that, or like, oh, holiday 2022. I'm like, my BS meter goes off. I don't trust it. But if they're like saying like, all right, November 11th, 2022, I'm like, that's so oddly specific.
Yeah.
I don't. You are super confident you're gonna hit this, and like you're in the middle of COVID and are willing to throw that out there. Like, all right.
Well, keep in mind too, from what we understood for a long time, is Starfield's been in development for a long time.
Yeah.
So, and after Fallout 76, there was rumors and reports, and I heard a few things too, that they were retooling the creation engine and doing some, they scrapped a bunch of work on. I don't know necessarily about scrapping a bunch of work, but they did go back to the drawing board on some things. And I think the game's better for it. And it's been about 3 years, almost, 2.5 years since those reports. So, yeah, I'm really interested to see what they have. And when they finally showcase this game running as the game, I'm there for it. Like, I don't care. It's a Bethesda RPG, man. It's got to have its hiccups. It's got to have its bumps. But, man, there's no RPGs quite like them.
They have a thing. Like, there is a reason why they are the kings of the Western RPG.
Yep.
Like, they even to this day, like, people gave CD Projekt Red that chance, and they fumbled that. So, like, hey, let's see what goes. So, all right. Next question. So, this one comes from our friend Unlit Earl. Hello, cheaters. I guess you were right. PlayStation is launching a PC brand. You were right. It's all over for PlayStation. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it's all over for PlayStation, but I'm not gonna lie, we've been saying this for a while. Not really surprising, really. Well, I mean, I guess I'm a little surprised that they made a separate brand calling it PlayStation PC. I'm a little surprised about that. I thought they would just call it PlayStation, but I'm not surprised that they are willing to embrace it. I mean, they bought a studio dedicated to porting games to PC.
Well, what's interesting is PlayStation Mobile has been rolled in to this group.
Ooh.
And if you look, I believe, if you look at the Steam store page for God of War, the PlayStation Mobile group is responsible for the port of God of War to PC. So if that's the case, then they're rolling their mobile group into their PC group, which means that's their port group.
Yeah.
So if they're making a port side of their business, there's a game plan there. And we're starting to see the framework for it roll out. Yeah. And the thing is what companies are starting to realize in the gaming space is that it is no longer necessarily just about the exclusive games anymore. It's a mixture of brand loyalty and offering unique services or ideas to their consumers. And with PlayStation, you know, they've got their big AAA games. They've got PlayStation VR 2 that's, you know, on the horizon. They're doing some indie stuff. They're kind of doing a mixed bag of everything. It's all about appealing to as many aspects of people as you can. And the general thing I will say is the exclusivity makes less of a deal unless it's a character that's predominantly associated with your brand. Like a perfect example, I'll use a friend of mine at work. He's a very casual gamer and everything else. He only has an Xbox or whatever. Doesn't understand any of the business side of the industry or anything else. And he's like, oh, I really want to get Deathloop. I'm like, ah, man, you can't get Deathloop. It's not on Xbox. He's like, why? I'm like, oh, PlayStation paid to keep it on their system. He's like, that's stupid. He's like, why wouldn't they want my money for the copy of that game? I'm like, fair. He's like, I'm not going to go out and buy another $500 console for one game I'm interested in. So if that game was on his ecosystem...
There are some people.
There are some people, don't get me wrong, and like I own a PlayStation predominantly for their first-party studios, and I own a PC, but I still would own a PlayStation over just buying their games on PC. Because that's how I game. I prefer to console game, and for the most part, I do like playing on PC, but there's specific games I like to play on PC, and that comes down to preference. And what people never understand with these conversations is that they're like, the immediate thing is that if it goes on PC, why do you need a console? Everybody's going to sell their consoles and go to PC. Some people just don't want to play on PC. Period. End of story. They have no interest. You're one of those people, are you not?
I mean, my biggest thing has always been I don't have any room. So, and like, it's not like I don't want to. I mean, but I'm also just kind of like, it's a lot of diminishing returns. I'm like, look, I could get a PC, but most of my friends are on Xbox, and like, I just have a PC. But like, also too, it's like, why would I have it necessarily for certain situations? Like, I don't have the kind of money to like beef it up so it always like looks the best. And I'm like, I don't know. It'd be great for getting deals, and that's kind of it for me.
Yeah.
But not for me, at least nowadays. There's not nothing wrong with it. It's just I'm just not. I don't know. It's just not. I'm not into it right now. I'm not at that stage of life. Maybe if I get to the point where I don't care about consoles so much, I only have one thing, I might consider at that point. But yeah, no.
Yeah, but I think this is the natural progression of where PlayStation is going. This is where Jim Ryan's leadership is taking them. This is the direction he wants to go. You can't sit there and say, well, I'm surprised that, you know, they're doing PC ports and they're doing a PC PlayStation division and everything else, when Jim Ryan's talking about how he wants to reach hundreds of millions of people. He's not selling hundreds of millions of PlayStation 5s. Like, I have no doubt the PlayStation 5 will sell over 100 million, but they want to expand outside of that. This is about ecosystems more than it is hardware now.
That's a good point. It definitely. The ecosystem is one thing. I think that is something Sony has to work on, specifically with themselves, is their ecosystem, because it's kind of this whole thing like where Sony has a bad habit of only going in half-hearted for whatever it is, and if it takes off and explodes, then they double down on it. But if it doesn't, they just kind of give up.
Yeah.
And like they've been doing that for the longest time, and so like a great example now is like PlayStation Now. People bring up this a lot, but like PlayStation Now, they showed off that title, and it got a lot of attention. Not title, I'm sorry. It showed off that service. It got a lot of attention at first, and then it was like, all right, well, whatever. And Sony won't commit to making it destroy Game Pass, because they could make it destroy Game Pass fairly quickly if they just announced that their exclusives were going onto that service day and date, it's over. Game Pass is done. Like, like at that point, they're like that is a real race at that point, and Sony dominates with their exclusives, and because that is their selling point for them. So that would be a whole game changing moment, but Sony doesn't want to commit to that. So there it is. Like you're the worst the worst game streaming platform, unfortunately. Well, maybe not the worst platform, but you know they're in terms of the big guys, they're the worst. And if this rumor about Netflix jumping into the gaming sphere is true, you're gonna be even worse by comparison. Because by default, Netflix will at least be number 2 at bare minimum, probably number 1, just by simply the factor of showing up.
Well, November 3rd, or not November 3rd. What was it? The end of the month, we'll find out.
Yep.
Games to Netflix or whatever. Netflix is launching its game side, I think, later this month or the start of December. So,
something like that. So we'll see how that goes.
It's just a new step. The games are still going to be great. I don't understand why everyone's so paranoid about that. Like, God of War Ragnarok is still going to be amazing. Who cares if some people on PC get to turn Atreus into a throwing axe?
Yep. People are weird. Alright, so next question. We're just chugging right along here. Alright, oh! This comes from Forever 21 McCrees. Looks like Overwatch, looks like Blizzard has renamed McCree in Overwatch 2 Cole Cassidy. One, I don't really care. Like, I just don't care anymore. Overwatch is dead to me. Like,
this is the first update to Overwatch in like a year.
Yeah, it's just done. Like, so I mean, okay, they changed. Also, I think it's dumb. Like, okay, you should have named him anyway after someone in the office. That's just always awkward. Like, I don't know. Unless it's someone who's like truly beloved. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I think that's silly. But even then, if you're gonna rename somebody, like, I would at least have like tried to like make a whole point about it. Like, maybe like rename it like the Vigilante or something like that, and like he has a whole story arc about like my name's been tainted. I need to like I can't use my name anymore because it's so tainted or some shit. Like, just do something like that. So at least it's kind of like a story reason to it. Like, that's the whole point. People have been asking for story in this game for so long. Give it to them.
Now that require effort, and effort and Overwatch just aren't in the same sentence anymore.
It's sad, but
yeah,
it's true.
It's good that they changed it. Don't name characters in your game after people in your studio just in case they're, you know, weirdos.
Weinstein.
Yeah. And this kind of is piggybacking on the fact that they delayed Overwatch 2 in their earnings call this week. Was
it like in 2020 initially?
Yeah, so Overwatch 2 was originally planned to be out in between 2019 and 2020 in original scope. And now it's been delayed essentially to 2023 in terms of Blizzard's games pipeline. This goes alongside Diablo 4. Diablo 4 feels okay to go to 2023 because, like, you know, it is what it is. Diablo games typically having a long development cycle isn't weird. And, you know, Diablo 4 just finished firing the lead designer on Diablo 4 because he was one of the people involved in the Cosby Room fiasco. So that team needing more time to make the game after losing, you know, their lead makes sense. That being said, Overwatch lost Jeff Kaplan, so it kind of makes sense that that's in disarray. But like, how in disarray is Overwatch 2 at this point? If Overwatch 2 releases, if Overwatch 2 releases in 2023, it'll have been 7 years after the original Overwatch. 7 years.
Good point. Like it is such a sketchy thing to see that anyway. Like my thing is like, all right, if this game comes out and it's really literally just the same thing as they had already before, I'm gonna be like, why? Why did you even bother? Like, was there any reason to exist?
Well, it feels really weird because you remember they stopped updating the original Overwatch to work on Overwatch 2. So you're not updating the original Overwatch, you're not adding new content, you're not adding new characters, and the sequel to the game is 3 years past the date a lot of people were expecting it to be.
They said they treated like this game was going to be like, this is it.
Yeah.
Like, this is the game. Like we're not making a sequel. This is just it. This is it forever. And then it's like they backtracked on that. Now they are making a sequel, and now it's like they backed themselves into this corner where it's like, all right, well, where do we go from here? And ugh.
Well,
too much.
And if you want insult to injury, so they delay Overwatch 2 to 2023, but Overwatch League is going to be played in the Overwatch 2 beta. The esports competition this year will be played in the Overwatch 2 beta, but the game's been delayed to 2023.
That's just so messed up. Well, I mean, I guess, well, let me backtrack to that. That's not entirely messed up. So, yeah, okay, so we're going to be watching Overwatch 2, essentially.
Yes.
We're watching them play it. But, yeah, I guess they're going to be paid to beta test and be paid a fair living wage to beta test, so...
It's just...
That's one way to look at it.
It feels so weird. Like, Overwatch seemed like such a slam dunk. Like, I would have thought they would have just done, like, the Rainbow Six Siege thing. Do a next generation console update. Do some new content. Like, why would you make such a successful multiplayer game and think that you had to make a 2?
Well, I think it was money. And also, was it Activision? Like, think from Activision's point of view, they are not used to this having a game they support. They're looking for money. Like, all right, this was successful. Let's make a sequel.
Yeah, but the thing is that Activision as a whole right now is just hemorrhaging player base. Call of Duty's going down. World of Warcraft is plummeting. Overwatch is in free fall. Their most successful games are plummeting right now. And they don't really seem to be that fazed by it. Like you look at Diablo 2 Resurrected. Did you even see anyone talking about that?
Only one person. He's a nerd. Talk about you, Reaper. Yeah. No, he's the only guy I ever heard talk about it.
Like, it took number 4 on NPDs, which is still impressive, but it's Diablo. And possibly one of the most beloved Diablo. Diablo. It feels weird saying that. It's like saying bowl over and over again. It eventually just sounds weird the more you say it.
It's like naming a puppy Beelzebub. It's like Diablo. A beloved Diablo.
Stop. But yeah,
right, I think. Go ahead. Sorry.
But yeah, I think Activision's in trouble. We'll see where it goes.
All right. We will see. So. All right. Next question. This one comes from. What's the track? All right. Are you guys into VR at all? From Wixen_02. Not for me. I'm good for now, especially with this metaverse stuff that Zuck wants to talk about. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'll hold out.
Metaverse.
What about you, Nick? I know you've thought about VR before.
No.
No.
I have no interest in... Like, part of me's like, oh, I'd love to try VR and everything else, but like, I have a hard enough time juggling Xbox, PlayStation, PC. Nonetheless, thinking about something else. And like, I don't know, the whole meta, like, once a bunch of billionaires start going, oh, we should do this, I get really friggin' nervous really quickly.
Mm-hmm. You're not wrong. When people want to push stuff like, hey, it's like space travel and stuff, it's like, okay, interesting choice. Interesting choices. So, weird. Anyway. Not much I'll say there. Alright, last two questions before we get to the main topic. This one comes from Deacon0x. I seem to recall one of you guys talking about Quake coming back. I have heard id Software is working on a new Quake game. Nick, I think I heard something for you about a Quake game. What's the deal here?
Yeah, I was talking about Quake just prior to Doom Eternal launching. And I said that, you know, internally that Quake had been tossed around internally by id Software. And now the Doom Eternal is content complete. And by means I mean content complete, I mean, you know, main game's done, 2 expansions are in the book. They're clear. And now they did the Horde mode as well, but that's done by a smaller team within id. Writing's on the wall for this. Like, all of a sudden, Machine Games is helping on bringing Quake to consoles. Why'd you bring the old Quake games to consoles? That feels really weird. Why would you do that? And then, you know, there's job listings for hiring for a well-renowned FPS game at id Software. You know, just connect the lines. It's pretty easy. I'm not going to pretend like I was the first person to say id should do it, but I think I would like to think I was one of the first people that said it in a this is going to happen kind of way. Shout out to Nick from Xbox Era, who actually had the cojones to post it publicly, and people ran with that. So I think he's got some really good leads into that. And you'll probably hear more from him or maybe even me in the coming months about what that will look like.
Fortune favors the bold.
Absolutely.
Yep. So, I don't know. I like to see Quake. So, I mean, I heard it from you first. So, I'm looking forward for it. So let's see what happens. So, okay. Last question. This one comes from Smackerel. The Grubster said WB is looking at making a Smash game. Who do you want to see in there?
Man,
have you heard about this at all, Nick?
Yeah, I've heard about this, and the possibilities are just goddamn endless for this. Like, you imagine Voldemort absolutely beating the brakes off of Gandalf. Like, this is a thing that could actually happen in this game. Or, like, Batman versus Voldemort in the ultimate fist fight.
I don't know, man. It feels so weird WB try to flex so hard on their IPs. It's really, really weird lately. Did you watch the new Space Jam movie?
Yeah. You mean this is WB, all of WB's IPs in a row in a very look at how valuable we are. Yeah. They're getting desperate over there. They're getting desperate.
I'm not even sure if it's desperation per se, but it's just really weird. It's just like, okay, like what I get the feeling out of it is that they're looking at being sold again, like as a total group, and they're just trying to like AT&T specifically is trying to like just find a way to sell it. They're like, look, this is just a giant ad for us. That's all we are. Buy it.
Well,
Buy
it feels weird because like it feels like everyone's like, okay, Smash Brothers is done releasing DLC characters. All right, everybody, bring out your own Smash clones. And it's like we got the Nickelodeon All Stars, which admittedly,
pretty good.
well,
I've seen some bits about like it's not a good IP thing, but like the fighting mechanics are great apparently. So
well, and see the thing is though, is like Nickelodeon. You put any of like the Nickelodeon characters all together, stylistically they all kind of mesh. Right? Like it's all cartoony, it all kind of makes sense. WB's weird. Cause like you could have like what? You could have the Animaniacs
the live actions.
Yeah.
It's live action people. It's
Yeah. Like you could have Snape throwing hands against the Animaniacs.
Yeah.
Like it just
actually I do want to see that now. I want to see the Animaniacs specifically. That'd be awesome.
DLC characters.
Yeah, well like the Looney Tunes would be overplayed to me, but at least in terms of like, oh yeah, Looney Tunes in a Smash style game. Be like, yeah, okay.
What are you talking about? Bugs Bunny's so problematic now that you can't use them.
True. That's also true. So, all right. But who would you pick? Who would be your main?
Oh, pfft. My main would totally be Samwise Gamgee with a frying pan, dude.
Oh, damn! I wish I thought of that one. I was gonna say mine would have been like you know Animaniacs, but I think it would be like a Pokemon trainer kind of deal, where it'd be like, all right, you get to have like you swap out between like Wacko, Yakko, and Dot.
That'd be pretty awesome. That'd be pretty awesome.
I can't imagine like they make them with one of them a single fighter. I just can't imagine that.
Like, no, just envision this. So you know you got Samwise Gamgee in a Warner Brothers goddamn fighting game for whatever goddamn reason, and he does his ultimate move and he pulls out a skillet and a potato and he starts smacking the dude and goes potato.
No, instead of the very end before it yells KO, it's potato.
Yeah, exactly. And as an Irish person, it speaks to me on a very deep and emotional level.
I like the idea. Let's do it. I like it. You heard it, Warner Brothers. Get to work.
Get to work. Potatoes. Boil them, mash them, put them in my... Never mind.
Oh, wait. No, it'll be like a Kirby Final Smash like in Melee. Or Brawl, sorry. Where it's like, you grab a guy, like you throw him in a pot, then you like mash him with a mallet. Then you put him in your stew, and like that's your finisher.
See, what I want them to do like a Super Smash Brothers Warner Brothers version, but I want the gore of Mortal Kombat.
Ooh.
Like, I want to see Animaniacs hit Gandalf with a hammer so hard that his head goes flying. Like, I want Animaniacs with fatalities.
Brutality there.
Yeah. Something wrong with
All
that.
right. I believe we're up to our main topic, Nick. What's on the agenda for this evening, sir?
So, we're going to talk about Xbox Game Studios, man. Like, it's kind of interesting. It's been a wild ride. Xbox has had its fair share of up and downs. And I just want to give them their credit. Because this year possibly is lining up to be one of the best years that Xbox Game Studios has had. Period. In terms of first-party releases. And
spell it out for me real quick. I see
the thing is that Xbox Game Studios has been releasing games the past few years. There's been good ones, but there's always been those games that kind of make you go, oh, I wish the quality was more consistent. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm trying to think of examples, but I'm drawing a blank here. But the problem with Xbox games too is it's always a mixed bag. It's either you get a really good game or it's like, oh, here's this really average game. Like I know for a lot of people, State of Decay 2, for example, was a really average game for a lot of people. I loved it myself, but it was a really average game for a lot of people. And then you get games like Ori, which was like this phenomenal 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 game that people love and adore and everything else. And then we're back to these other mid-tier games. But this year, they've been anything but painstakingly consistent to the point where people are actually going through backflips to discredit any form of positivity that people can throw at it, so to speak. Like Psychonauts 2. You, Sam, Eric, I've heard nothing but good things from all of you. And like, I think what speaks volumes about Psychonauts 2 is like, you just got into the franchise. Eric's been in love with the franchise since it released. And both of you had amazing things to say about the game. And I think there's something to be said about quality when an old-time fan and a new-time fan can all come together and go, this was a really great experience. And that's rare. And I think Double Fine having more time, more money to put that game out, I think that shows the dedication that Xbox is now putting to giving the games the time they need. You look at Age of Empires 4. It's a phenomenal RTS game. It's the first mainline installment in Age of Empires in a long time. They let it cook. They built it. They did it slowly. They did it right. They did a lot of play testing. They asked for community feedback. And now it's this phenomenal RTS game that brought a franchise that's basically been out of the RTS conversation back to the forefront. You have Forza Horizon 5, which is basically the racing genre's defining game at this point, and has been the defining racing game in terms of arcade racers, especially with the Horizon series, for years now. It is incredible to see these successes. And you see Microsoft Flight Sim as another example. Not my kind of game, but phenomenal. They got that to work on console. That's an achievement in itself. I just really want to give Xbox credit because as someone who in 2017 was really on the fence on and sitting there going, I don't know what they're doing. I was one of those people where I was on the borderline, like, I may fully switch to PlayStation. Because Xbox just wasn't delivering the type of games that I wanted. But now Xbox is all in on making games for everybody. And yeah, you're going to hear it. Every Xbox Game Studios release, you hear the same thing. Oh, this title isn't for me. This title isn't for me. This title isn't for me. But it's for somebody. Somebody falls in love with it. There's always someone in my feed that's like, man, this title is a 10 out of 10 to me because it speaks to me or anything else. The quality's there. And to see Xbox delivering quality games again and staying competitive. And like, I know people argue VG charts and, you know, well, PlayStation 5 is selling all these consoles. Xbox is selling all these consoles. I don't care. The games I'm playing right now are amazing. And that's all I care about right now.
So I'm actually going to have some pushback on this one. The games that we are seeing that are scoring consistently high are games that Microsoft just bought. So as a counterpoint, so the games that everyone looks at is like, oh wow, these are great, are Deathloop, Psychonauts. And yeah, those are pretty much it. Deathloop and Psychonauts specifically have been the main ones that everyone's like, oh wow, this is great. The only one from their own first-party studio, and again, this is also a semi-recent acquisition, but I think it's fair enough to say that would be Forza Horizon 5. But that's been a consistent performer across the board. Now, I think it's more of a swan song towards multi-platformness, I guess. Multi-platformity. I don't know what the term would be necessarily in this case, but I think it's more of a hey, these are great games. You're gonna remember that this is studios with great talent, and now it's going behind the exclusivity mark. If you want this again, you're gonna have to come to Microsoft for this. So I'm hesitant about giving Microsoft so much credit for this because a lot of these are acquisitions of things that were already in the works to begin with. Deathloop is one of those titles that was already in the works with the PlayStation in mind, and they already had this thing done. And yeah, they bought it, and now it's the whole deal with PlayStation right now. But it's got a lot of good scores because of that. Well, not because it's a PlayStation, but because it's a good game. But they didn't know Bethesda during the entire inception of the title.
No. I did like that. That's why I didn't bring up Deathloop. Like I see people trying to give my Xbox credit for Deathloop. Deathloop was an Arcane baby that should have come out before the Bethesda acquisition anyway. So I don't want like credit for that. No, don't give them credit for that. That was, the partnership with PlayStation and Bethesda and Arcane doing their magic. But I'll push back on Psychonauts because that game got an additional 1.5 years, almost 2 years of development time after the acquisition. Where Tim Schafer has openly said that they rescoped Psychonauts 2 and expanded on things that they weren't able to do originally. So Psychonauts 2 will have been a much more condensed game and might not have been nearly as good as it was without that time and that money and those resources.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's a fair point.
But that's my overarching point is I don't give a shiznit if people don't want to give Microsoft credit for Psychonauts, whatever the case may be. But what Psychonauts 2 proves is this is not the Microsoft that is rushing a game out the door anymore. This isn't the Microsoft that's like, hey, you have to hit a deadline or else. We're past that. Within reason. I think Halo's hit that point now. I feel like
Halo's definitely at the point of like dropping this year or some stuff gonna happen.
Yeah, like Halo's at that point. And I think Halo's a perfect representation of things they still need to work on.
Yeah. Like they definitely got talent, and I think I still stand by what I said earlier. I think that after Halo 5 launches, that's a Halo 5. Halo Infinite launches, after that happens, there's gonna be a point and you're going to start seeing it where people just suddenly start leaving the studio all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. And they basically got fired, but they're being polite about it.
Yeah.
So I would not be surprised.
Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those things where, and it's a selfish reason for me because they've put out a lot of games this year that spoke to me personally. It's one of those things, right? Like, sometimes like when a bunch of games come out, is general population's like, who cares? But it's like, it's a couple of games that really mean something to you. And like playing Age of Empires again, for example, is something where I'm like, wow, they really took the time and learned a lot of lessons with this. And they brought one of my favorite franchises back and made it meaningful. And made it high quality. And like, it's what I love about what PlayStation did. Like God of War is an example. Like God of War Ascension was just wild. And like franchise killer. And they brought that back in a meaningful way. But I don't know. I just have a soft spot for when developers get to take the time to make the games they want to make. And then make games that resonate with fans. And like, I think my favorite part about Forza today was, aside from people posting review scores, there's just people legitimately getting excited and getting into the game. Like there's people that were like, I can't wait, and just buying into it. And I almost bought in, and I'm not even that much of a racing fan because people were just happy and excited. And I think as more and more of these big titles drop and Microsoft's more consistent, we're going to see more of that because there's going to be less of this, oh, well, PlayStation's dropping this big game and we don't have anything right now. They're both going to have big games to celebrate. Yes, there's going to be people arguing back and forth till the end of time, but everyone's going to have something they can play again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point you bring up specifically. There was a whole point where it was Xbox would have games like for like during the holiday, PlayStation's quiet and dry, and then the PlayStation would have like a good solid title of games, and it's like 9 months of dryness from Xbox. Like now, I feel like I know definitely on the Xbox side, it's not gonna feel like that anymore. It's gonna feel like, all right, we got a big title coming out like at least once a quarter, at least that much. It's not going to feel as bad. So I'm interested in that, and I think, and I would like to see. Hopefully, PlayStation can do something similar. So it's always like, all right, we got this game, but we also got this game.
Yeah,
it keeps people
like that's what I want them to do. Like I want PlayStation to sit there and go, oh shit, Microsoft's bringing back Halo, and Halo's really big. We need to bring back Resistance. Or, Microsoft brings back Banjo. And then PlayStation's like, okay, I see what you're cooking. We're going to bring back Sly Cooper. I want them to one-up each other constantly. I want that competition. It's so good. Yes, console wars as a whole suck. But when Microsoft and PlayStation are legit toe-to-toe, fighting for your dollar and try and produce the best content for that dollar, it's some of the best gaming that we can have.
Man. Like that is a true gem. And honestly, in terms of console war stuff, my experience has always been it calms down at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like people are just too busy playing games. There's no time to fight.
No.
There's just no time to fight. So, yeah. All right. Specifically focusing on Forza, what? Are you excited for this one? That's a dumb question. You almost bought the game early, and you know it's like coming on Game Pass. There's no reason to. But yeah, of course you're excited for it. But I mean, like, what's the appeal for you on this one? Is it just more Forza for you, or is it more location?
I'm someone that loved the original Forza Horizon. Like the first game was so good. I loved the first game. Second game was okay. I never played 3. I played 4 and I bounced off 4 pretty hard. I really didn't like the setting of 4. I'm sorry. Britain's really boring. It's like, oh look, woods. And a bridge. And a town that looks like every other town. And that's no fault of, like, Playground Games. That's just the fault of the UK in general.
Coming after you, James. Coming after you hard.
I'm Irish. I'm sorry. Britain is boring. It's painfully boring. Okay? Mexico, you get the variety. You get the mountains. You can get some of the, Aztec stuff. You can do all sorts of jungles. You can do desert. There's that variety. And, like, they did great variety with the seasons in Forza Horizon 4. I don't want to take credit away from that. But with 5, it's, like, an exotic locale. And, like, the more exotic places you can go in a racing game, the kind of cooler it is. Because what kind of sucked about the later Need for Speed games is it's like, oh, look, I'm driving around in a ripoff of Seattle? Yeah, this looks like Seattle. But, like, it's what I'm hearing from people that's got me really excited about this. Like, talking with Sam, and now that it's past embargo, I can say this. Talking with Sam and him telling me that he put more time into Forza Horizon 5 than he ever put into 4 already, that has me interested.
Mm.
What about you?
So I never played the original Forza Horizon. Just wasn't interested.
Hmm.
I'm really not big into racing games like at all. I don't really care for them. I think they're normally too self-indulgent. In like with a car fetish. Not super into it. I played Forza Horizon 2 just kind of on a whim, and like it just hit me at the right time. I want to say it was like September that came out, or September or very early October.
I think
I
it was
was on
early
fall
October.
break in college. Yeah, I was on fall break in college. I remember that, and I remember like having like a week to just play it, and I had so much fun playing that game. It was such a blast because it was just such a relaxing game. It was like, hey, you want to go race? You can go race. You want to just drive around? Yeah, go drive around. I had such a fun time with it, but I like the fact that they didn't like make you like the boss yet. It was still like, hey, you're just a challenger. Like, you got a little bit of like a rep with you. It's fun. Like, and you just jump into different types of races and enjoy yourself. I didn't care for 3 that much. Like, Australia was cool, but I just thought it was like, I didn't like the idea of being the boss. Where like, oh, I can choose what kind of race I want to do. And I'm like, I don't want to do that all the time. I want to have some challenge. Like, because for me, if it's up to me, I'm going to do rally car races the whole time. That's all I'm going to do.
Mm.
Because I find that a little more like technical turning and like it's not always about speed. It's about like, all right, how can I cut this corner just right? Or like, oh, I can cut this guy off right here. Yeah, I find it more enjoyable for me. But like, all right, but I never play the supercars or doing the off-road stuff or anything like that. It's always rally cars. So I'm like, I don't want to have complete control 100% of the time. I want there to be things I just have to do, other than just like the Horizon events. I want to do something different, and like that's kind of why I got turned off of like the rest of the franchise for a while because of that. And like, I think they're still doing that with 5, so who knows. Like I don't know how long I'll stick around for this one. I do like the variety of locations, but like I said, it's mostly the idea of like, oh yeah, I'm the boss forever is just boring to me. I kind of want something different out of that. So, we'll see how that goes. All right, but my question for you, Nick, and like my final question, and the question that will eventually become the poll question: where do you want to see the franchise go after this? How do you want to see it evolve? Because we're on the 5th iteration, man. We've been plowing through these games since 2014.
Look, I'm going to echo, I don't watch a lot of reviews, but I watched Addict's review on Forza Horizon 5. And he brought up police chases as something they'd like seeing. People really tried to get at him about the Need for Speed comparisons. But Forza does racing so good. I'd love to see them tackle some of the stuff the old Need for Speed games do. Like, and I think that could fix part of your problem with the game where it's like, you're the boss. No. Do something bad with this. Like, don't just be a racing game. Do something bad with this. Do like a most wanted angle. Slap that crap in Japan or something and do like a most wanted angle or like a Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift angle. Do that.
I'm kind of similar boat. My whole thing is like, I want them to be a little more creative with it. Like, you don't have to be the bad guy per se. I don't even care about police chases. I think that's out of brand for them. I think what they should do, like, Horizon should still be, oh yeah, like we're gonna go to an exotic locale and drive around here and have a good time. I think that's the kind of thing. But I think Forza having a offshoot, like another offshoot series where it's like, hey, we have Forza Motorsport, Forza Horizon, and Forza something else.
Kart Racer.
Well, my whole thing is like I like the underground racing scene. Like maybe not have cops involved, but like racing for pinks. Like I would love that. That would put some actual like stakes behind stuff.
What
Like, oh
what
yeah,
if
you got that car on a wheel spin, like that car you've been waiting for forever. You want to race it? If you lose, it's gone forever.
what if we did mixed our two? We put it in Japan and we do underground racing in Japan.
Hmm. The only thing about it is like this. I feel like that this particular series is like so squeaky clean. We're gonna have to like come up with something, like so it's not like the cops that are chasing you.
Rent-a-cops?
Anti-racing Nazis, like you guys are racing. We're gonna chase you in our super fast cars. I don't know, man.
I agree with you. Forza is kind of like honed this image of being like we're racing, but it's within legal boundaries, and it's like okay, like I get why they do it, but
remember my conspiracy theory that Forza is actually part of a dystopian nightmare? Do you remember this?
yes.
Maybe they should lean into that.
Maybe they should just Maybe they should just full on go for the money and do Cyberpunk Forza 2079. Just do racing in a dystopian cyberpunk world, but make it like Death Race.
Okay, so here's the thing. So like specifically with Forza 4, this was like the worst it's ever gotten as a society. All right. So when the Horizon Festival shows up, it's like, all right, we close down the streets for a month, right? About a month.
Yeah.
To do these races and stuff. All right. Not a logistical nightmare, maybe, but tolerable, right? And then it's like, all right, same thing with Forza Horizon 2, and same thing with 3. But like 4 specifically, they're shutting down this area for a year or more. And it's like, well, what? Like, just imagine that. Like, all right, well, these people are racers, and they're more qualified than like little Billy who grew up in Glasgow, and like he's just trying to learn how to drive, but or like, oh yeah, like, oh, my wife's pregnant, now you gotta get her to the hospital, and it's like, oh, sorry, the road shut down for a race. And it's just so much stuff like that. It's a nightmare, and the only way I think that would even be accessible or even remotely possible is that they live in a dystopian nightmare world where racing is everything. And like they have nothing else to live for. Like, and they just rely on this alone for any sort of enjoyment. And there would also have to be like a whole race of second-class citizens who never get to race. And so I'm like, that's a terrible idea. That's god awful. But like, what if Forza leaned into that and it's like, oh yeah, there's the racing overclass of all the people who race in the Horizon events, and now this is Forza Underground. The kids who tried to learn how to drive in driver's ed but couldn't because the races kept closing down everything. Now they're racing for liberation. I love how you're just so tired of my shit, you just turn your brain off. Like, I'm done.
It's a good idea, but like, you're like a madman sometimes. Once you get rolling, once the wheels start spinning, it's gone. It's down around the corner, over the bend. It's great.
Hey, I could easily be hired by anybody. I think I'll do it for free. That's what I'm saying. Making a whole connected like series. Be awesome.
You're the type of person that walk into a walking simulator indie game and be like, you know what this needs? Shotgun.
Don, who do you think I am, Doc?
Fair play. I'll give you that one.
All right. So you guys heard our poll question. That's what we got for the evening. To recap, where do you want the Forza Horizon franchise to go next? A classic Horizon set in Japan. B, LA underground racing. or C, Microsoft kart racing for all the rest of the franchises.
No,
So
I want Forza Kazooie nuts and bolts.
oh god. That's so it's messed up. You're worse than I am.
Do you remember how dark of a time Banjo Kazooie nuts and bolts was in our gaming history?
Jeez. Yeah, it wasn't a great time.
You're like, Banjo,
not great.
what happened?
Dude, senpai.
They just
Step Kazooie, no.
They're just killing my boy.
All right. So we'll wrap things up here, I guess. We got good content for you guys.
Yeah.
All right. I'm Ivan Seiler. You guys could find me at Anchor V2 on Twitter. I don't care about your opinion, but let me know anyway. You guys can find me my gamer tag Anchorman V2 on Xbox and on PlayStation. So come game with me. We'll talk. So.
Absolutely. And my name's Nicholas Downey. You can find me on Twitter at Nicholas_Downey. You can find all my written work at lordsofgaming.net. Big month ahead. Lots of stuff to write about. Be a good time. And of course, I don't usually do this, but if you want to find me on Xbox or PlayStation, Undead 3XVI. You can add me. I'll add you back. Just make sure you DM me who you are, because sometimes I can't distinguish people adding me on Xbox from porn bots. I'm sorry. But yeah, great conversations, good times. And we'll see you guys next week on Cheat Code Radio live on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Appreciate all of you that stopped by, and bye for now.